So you're ready to build a land flipping business that makes $20,000 or more per month. Well, I'm gonna break down everything that you need to do to get to that point before GTA 6 comes out as quickly as possible. So let's get into it. Now, it's important to understand the 4 pillars that I teach: market selection, marketing, acquisitions, and dispositions. Well, what are these? First, we need to be picking good quality markets in areas where properties are selling 90 days or less. I'd say around $50,000 or more. Now, we also want to make sure that in every market that we pick, at least 50 to 100% more properties are selling than are actually for sale. Because if we have more supply than we have demand, then that's a market that we don't want to enter into. We always want to have a market where we have far more demand than there is supply. Then we can go to that market and supply buyers with that property. Now, market selection is one of the most important levers of the business, because if you're picking bad product, you're gonna have properties that you cannot sell. So I always reverse engineer it in my business. I'm always picking things that I see people wanting to buy. So let's say I'm looking for a 6-figure profit deal. Well, how do I re-engineer that? Where can I go and find a property that's selling for $300,000 or $400,000 on the market and selling within 90 days? Where can I find that? So you do research based upon that. If I see proof of concept for a property, if I see a proof of concept for markets where properties are selling at $300,000 or $400,000 within less than 90 days, well, then I'm going to pick that market. And from there, I'm going to market to it, which leads me to marketing. Now, marketing is very important. And I'll get into a little bit more on these 4 pillars and how you actually use them, because everyone knows the 4 pillars, but very few people use them correctly. And in my consulting business, I see several different land flipping businesses, people that don't organize their leads, people that are not getting as many deals done as they'd like to, and I always identify the constraints, and I'll go through some of those constraints that may be leading you to a lack of cash flow in your land flipping business. And listen, we made these businesses, we create these businesses, we build them and scale them to create cash flow for ourselves. So if your business isn't cash flowing, you've got a problem. Now, going back to marketing, direct mail and SMS blasting, you can start with one of the two. Whatever it is, you need to stick to it and stick to that for 6 to 8 months. This is where people fall off and fail. I've had so many people that have come to me and say, yeah, Femi, I stopped sending out mail, I stopped texting, and then wonder why they're not making any money. This is actually one of the largest problems in this industry, where people will send out mail and then they'll wait for a deal or even get a deal and list a deal, and then they don't even put the right marketing on that deal, and then they just kind of sit there, cross their fingers, and wait. This is not a business. That's not how you run a business. Think about yourself as Coca-Cola. If Coca-Cola never turns off their ads, why would you turn off their ads? Coca-Cola is a billion-dollar company, a multi-billion-dollar company. So why would you turn off your ads if Coca-Cola doesn't even do it? You never turn off your advertising, never turn off your marketing. And a good rule of thumb is to make sure that whatever you're going to send out month over month, that you can sustain that for 6 to 8 months. So don't get excited. Don't watch the YouTube video and then say, oh, you know what? I'm going to send out 25,000 mailers. Let's go. And then you can't do it the next month. So if you're going to send out 25,000 mailers, you need to be able to send that out for 6 to 8 months. If you can't do that, if all you can do is 2,000 mailers a month, no problem. Make sure you can do it for 6 to 8 months and make sure you can sustain your expenses for 6 to 8 months. If you cannot do that, you will fail at this game. You will. So marketing is all about consistency. Now, some more advanced techniques in marketing as you continue to elevate your game are: how do I stand apart from all the other mailers, all the other texts? How do I stand apart? How do I specifically target specific sellers, specific problems that sellers have in my marketing? How do I make my copy better than everyone else's? How do I increase my open rates? What can I put on my envelope to increase my open rates? These are questions that I ask myself. This is why my open rates, this is why our conversation rate is so much higher than what I'm seeing in the market. Because I'm constantly trying to figure out, how can I increase open rate? How can I increase connection before you even call? How can I build trust immediately before a seller even calls? You need to ask yourself these questions. So in my actual mailer, I put copy in there that speaks to a person's specific problem, and I'll speak to several different problems. Now on my envelopes, same kind of thing. We're speaking to problems. If you're currently in this situation, you should open this. This is time-sensitive material. These are things that we're putting on our envelopes, while most people just use a double-sided window and just, oh, hey, throw it at the wall, hope that it sticks. We're putting in time, effort, and deep thought into how our mailers are going to be conveyed to our sellers. And this is why we're getting more deals. This is why our students are doing deals that, people are struggling to do. And it doesn't matter about tariffs, it doesn't matter about interest rates, it doesn't matter what's happening in the world. I will continue to profitably close land deals because I think about these things. Now, next brings me to acquisitions, and that is when we're actually speaking to sellers. Now, amongst all of the pillars that I've mentioned, acquisitions is by far the most important one because you can send out mail, you can pick great markets, but if you don't know how to talk to sellers, if you don't know how to negotiate, if you don't know how to build rapport, build trust, if you don't know how to do these things, well, then good luck to you. You're not going to close any deals. So really, what makes you a good person at acquisitions is really practice and study and review of your work. It's the same thing as a jab or a jump shot. You keep throwing the jab, you evaluate what you're going to do, you study your film, you continue to study it, jab, 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 right? That was fast. You continue to do that, you continue to study, you continue to iterate, you continue to make it better, and you're just going to get better. So in my career, I've had thousands and thousands of conversations. So I have been able to, over the course of several years, been able to look at my body of work and, okay, here's where I can improve. Here's this cadence. Here's actually where I need to improve this word choice versus that word choice. Here's how I actually need to wait for the seller to say something before I respond. Right? Now, based upon my years and years of experience, I've developed a script that I give to my Landverse clients, and my Landverse clients absolutely love it. And so if you are looking to build a land flipping business as fast as possible, looking to get to 20K a month or more as fast as possible in 2025, book a strategy call with me below, and I'd be happy to help. Now, with acquisitions, follow-up is also extremely important. The average person that I see that comes to me, the average client that I work with, they follow up with a seller like once. If at all. They follow up once because they didn't say, hey, I want to sell. If a seller calls you and says, hey, I want to sell right away, great. But most of the time they want market value. So you have to work a lot of these leads. And therein lies the problem. On average, we're seeing 5 or 6 touch points per closed deal. That's average. Now, I've also had deals where I've had 50 touch points for a closed deal. And so if you're not willing to make 50 touch points, you can't be willing to make $20,000 a month or more. It's just not going to happen because you're not willing to put in the work. And you see, social media, YouTube, Instagram, all these things will fool you into thinking that this is an easy thing and that these deals just fall into your lap. So you're looking for hot leads. I heard someone say that the other day and I was like, what are you talking about? It is your job to make the leads hot by the way you talk to a seller, by the way you negotiate, by the way you continue to make touch points. What do you mean hot leads? What is that supposed to mean? And the problem is, the culture and the media and all this stuff has made people lazy. And you think that like this is some get rich quick scheme, and it's not. You got to work. Now, on the other side of that work, is there multiple 6 figures, multiple 7 figures in profit waiting for you? Absolutely. But only if you do the work. So acquisitions is extremely important. And really that boils down to practice, reviewing your own tape, reviewing your own recorded calls. It's crazy because the average client that comes into work with me, they don't even have their calls recorded. They don't even have their calls recorded. And so I get excited actually when they tell me that because I'm like, man, you haven't even scratched the surface yet. You haven't even scratched the surface because you don't even know where you can improve. You don't know, right? So recording your calls is inherently important, and following up. You should have multiple touch points per lead. Multiple touch points per lead. And don't have any shame in following up with someone. I don't have any shame in following up with anyone, and I never will, because follow-ups make money. Follow-ups make money. And you having the discipline to set a touch point after every time that you called a lead, every time that you've done anything with the lead, in your CRM, there should be another touch point. You got to have that discipline to do that. And most people don't, which is why most people's businesses are average. You see, when you start to really dive deep into these principles, you realize that this is all you need to make multiple 6 figures a year in profit, multiple 7 figures a year in profit. That's all you need. You don't need much more. The problem is most people far overcomplicate this stuff and just spin their head out of control and think that there's some new AI thing needed or some new whatever, all these things that are not necessary for you to even make $250K a year. It's not necessary. All you got to do is focus on these 4 pillars and get as good as possible at all these 4 pillars. Now that leads me to dispositions, and that is selling your properties on the market. Now we take our properties once we get them under contract, once we close on them, and I always ask myself, who buys this? And why do they buy it? And how do I convey why they should buy it on the market? How do I convey that? And how do I put pictures in there that speak to this person or this profile of person that buys it? How do I put my description in a way that speaks literally to the person that would buy it and why they should buy it? This is dispositions at the highest level. This is why if you go on Zillow, you'll see properties on the market for 200 days, 250 days. Why? Because people don't ask themselves these questions. Now, I ask myself these questions. That's why I haven't had a listing go over 90 days in a couple of years now. All of my listings have sold through within 90 days. Why? Because I ask myself these questions, because I pick good markets. That's why. It's very simple. Now, you do these things. You go from market selection to dispositions on a consistent basis. You go through those 4 pillars. You go through that process. You set follow-up touch points. You follow up with sellers consistently. You pay attention to having really good quality listings and almost, not even almost, but branding yourself. So if you have a deal in North Carolina, you have a deal in Virginia, you have a deal in California, you have a deal in Texas, all of those listings should be amongst the same kind of brand. Same quality of listing, even if they're different properties. Same kind of photos, same kind of listing descriptions, same kind of drone shots. They should all have the same essence to them. This is how you must think if you want to build a multi-6-figure profit land flipping business. And if you don't think like this, it's going to be very hard for you to do that. Now, the last 2 things that are not actually a part of the 4 pillars, but if you want to do this before, let's say GTA 6 comes out, if you want to do that before then, well, you're going to need to have extreme discipline and capital management. Those are the 2 things. So I'm going to talk about extreme discipline first. Don't get distracted by flashy object syndrome. Don't get distracted by the next thing that can come up or this or that, or the new AI system. No. 4 pillars, laser focus. Because here's the thing. You only get distracted by flashy object syndrome because you see the next hit of dopamine, or you see the next cool thing, or you see this, you see that. But no. If you just focus here, you're going to have everything that you want. Everything. And this is the problem. Stop being so concerned with the feeling of feeling good or what would it feel like to make this? How would it feel to do this? And just go and do it. Stop being so concerned with I'm trying to do this. I hope I can do that. I wish I can do that. Times are tough. This is just go and do it. And stay disciplined on the 4 pillars. If you simply stay disciplined on the 4 pillars, you will make more money than you ever thought you could make. And I'm saying that because I've done that, and many of my other clients have done that as well. Proof is in the pudding. Now, with capital management, once you start closing deals, until you get to at least $250,000 liquid cash, do not fund any of your own deals. Do not do it. I have seen so many people make this mistake and they're like, yeah, man, I put 100 grand into this property. I'm like, why? Why'd you do that? I put 50 grand in. Why? Why are you doing that? There's no need. It actually makes me like, I'm like, I didn't invest a single dollar into any property until I had about $300,000 liquid cash. Not a single dollar. Not, can you put equity? No, I didn't do it. I was focused on my business, marketing, market selection, acquisitions, dispositions. When it comes to acquisitions, I can go get capital. If I have to split this 50-50, 60-40, whatever, I'll do it. Fine. Because that's going to allow me to roll back into my business of marketing, keeping my train rolling. When you take $50,000, $100,000, and you have less than $250K in cash, I mean, what are you doing? Take this money, put it back into marketing. Every time you make money on a deal, I don't care if it's 10,000, I don't care if it's 20,000, take 15% of that money, allocate it back into your marketing. At least 15%. At least. Capital management is so important. This can keep people out of the business. We're not gambling, we're building a business. When you gamble, it's here today, gone tomorrow. But I'm teaching you guys how to build wealth with a profitable land flipping business. This is not gambling. This is not luck. This is not get rich quick. This is not maybe. This is not hopefully. This is not, hey guys, hopefully over here. No. This is definite wealth. That's what we're creating. If you want to create definite wealth, you need to have extreme discipline. You need to have capital management. You will not succeed if you don't have these 2 things. You will not succeed even with the 4 pillars if you don't have these 2 things. And I'll actually throw in a bonus. Delayed gratification. Delay your gratification. You shouldn't be looking to have this Rocky championship moment every 5 seconds. And this is the problem. You see so many positive things online, but you don't know the whole story to many things. I've taken many L's in my businesses. I have. I've also had massive wins, but those wins don't come without the losses. They don't. And so don't be always looking to gratify yourself with some hard work. Oh, hey man, I sent out my mail. Great. Okay. What do you want, a cookie? Oh, hey, I talked to 100 sellers this month. Okay. Hey man, I closed a deal. I made 50K. Great. Fantastic. Do it again. This is the kind of mentality that you need to put yourself into if you want to build massive wealth. Because it's not about these little wins. It's not about that. I do this because I love doing it. I make these videos. I help people because I love doing it. I run my land flipping business because I love doing it. It's just about playing. This is a game. This is a game. So stop, you're thinking that this is going to be so hard and you're putting all this pressure and stress on yourself, so then you're looking for that gratification. Oh, have fun. The same way when you were a kid, if you used to play basketball or play baseball or swim or, whatever, you just have fun as a kid. That's what this should be. Have fun with this. Because when you have fun with it, you take the element of stress and pressure, you take that out. If you have stress and pressure all the time, it's going to be extremely difficult for you to build wealth. It's going to be extremely difficult. I play. I have fun. That's what I do. This is play to me. It is. Do I take it very seriously? Of course. But learn how to delay your gratification. Don't always be looking for that next thing. Focus on process. Focusing on process will always lead to progress. Always. Process leads to progress. Write that down. Write it in your notes. Remember it. The more that you focus on the progress, the more that you focus on the process, the more progress you will have. And throughout this journey, have patience. Have patience for yourself. Have patience for your skills accruing. Have patience for yourself getting better, because I will tell you this. If you're watching this video, if you watch to this point, you will absolutely get there. You will get to the point where you have built a multi-6 and even 7-figure profit land flipping business. You will do multiple 6-figure profit deals. You will. It's inevitable. It might take you a year. It might take you 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, but you will get there. Because if you're watching to this point, you have a hunger, you have a drive, you have something that is inside of you that you want better for yourself, that you want to build beyond what your current circumstances are. And if that's you, if you're a person that wants to build beyond what your current circumstances are, you will get to your destination. And if you want to get to your destination faster, feel free to book in a call with me. I'd be happy to help you get there faster. This has been Femi with Landverse, and I'll see you in the next video.